So for these trees, we actually found a lot of tinsel and a lot of ribbon that was almost like plastic, but it was stretchy ribbon. So what we did was we actually went down to the base and put this ribbon all around the tree and just wrapped it around so that it looked like candy cane trees. And then we took tinsel and we tied the tinsel on and we made some flowers.
Out of velvet ribbon?
Yeah, out of velvet ribbon. We just made some flowers and we used some hairspray, that's colored hairspray, to actually give them a little bit more color and a little bit more brightness. And then we used a lot of sparkle spray and they turned out just great. And then on the bottom we actually took some more foliage and we put it into the bottom to make it look like it was more growing out and not just a tree.
So this tree was one of our major pieces for our set in the candy room. It gave us a major wow, and we actually got applause just for the set on opening night. What we started doing was, weeks before the play began, we started having kids work on these. All they are is yarn or baling twine or whatever you have. That it can be any kind of twine. And we cut out paper leaves in a double shape like this, kind of like a really thin heart, and then had them staple these onto the strings. We did miles and miles of this stuff ahead of time. Then we found these. What are these, Amanda?
They are almost like Chinese lanterns. They just fold up like this. That's all that they are. And you can find these everywhere. In fact, in some stores they actually have them, but they take a tube and actually run them up and across the aisles. And so that's really all they are.
It's a decorative thing they use in grocery stores. Exactly. And you can find them in party supply stores. And these were wonderful because they look like ribbon candy. And from a distance, they look absolutely beautiful. And then we have our ball hanging there. And we went out and got willows and tied these all to the willows.
We just took normal ribbon and just tied them onto the willows. That's all we did.
Now we had to find a unique way to get this on and off stage because it had to be on and off in a hurry. We had a platform already built with wheels, and this platform is about 4 foot by 8 foot or 10 foot. And what we did was we put a base on it that was metal with a pole. And we found a giant carpet tube that was 12 feet tall, painted it brown, and then put a ring of material, a wire ring with material hanging down over the top of it. And at the very top of the tree, we made a giant wooden plug for it. It was a piece of wood cut in a round circle like this with another giant square piece of wood on top of it. We drilled holes in that and stuck our willows that already had the strings tied to them into that hole. And with the plug that went down into the carpet tube, we drilled into that and bolted it onto the tree so it wasn't going to go anywhere. Now we had a unique problem though. We had to just put the willows on half of the front of the tree and not on the back because we couldn't get it through the curtains any other way. So what we did when we wanted to go off stage was we tied a very large piece of ribbon to the back of the tree, stapled it on, and that way we could come back here, get all of our vines out of the way, tie it back here, and get it off stage in a big hurry. This worked so well. It was a bit of a challenge at first, but it really looked good when we were all done. And we got a lot of wow out of this one. It was a lot of work, a lot of time, but in the end it was so worth it, and everybody loved it. Then we made our collage at the bottom of the tree after we got that all put on, so that we would have some mushrooms, flowers, more lollipops stuck in the things. And this made it easy to get things on and off stage. We got a lot of things on in a hurry. So that was a fun thing to do, and it worked out really well. We were pleased with the results. So this is our gobstopper machine. Oh, what a challenge this was. We spent so much time making this machine. It took us 4 days, basically working the whole time on this thing. So we began, once again, with carpet tubes, and we decided to make some vortex cannons. Vortex cannons aren't that hard, but they do take time. First vortex cannon we made was this one with a big blue barrel. It's like a water barrel. We had to cut the end out of it. We had to put the stabilizer things inside of it, like the bungee cords that will pull your things back, and we had to use a shower curtain inside of it. Just go look up how to make them on YouTube. It's much easier than me trying to explain it. But it worked out really well. We did learn one thing. Don't use tablecloths and don't use material for the back of it. You really have to have a heavy-duty shower curtain or it will break and tear. And then we've also put duct tape several layers over that where things connected so that we wouldn't rip it. One of the fun things we did was we took the ends of 2-liter soda pop bottles, cut them off and spray painted them for all of our knobs on here. This turned out really nice. These things look like hoses, but they're actually an insulation thing that you use you get it at hardware stores. They're fairly inexpensive. And we just put a pie tin over our vortex cannon, and that way we screwed it on right here so that we could shut it when we weren't using it, so that the air would not, or the smoke would not go all over the stage. What we did was we sent smoke rings out into the audience, and we also had smoke rings coming up through these vortex cannons in the back. They weren't as noticeable, but they did work most of the time. We did have some issues. One of the things we learned was with all of the tubing coming off of our smoke machine that's hidden down under the clock in the center, was we had to drain them every night because they build up with condensation and it keeps you from getting a good result. We just used boxes on the front, different colored boxes to decorate. Cans. This was a jar from a juice bottle that we cut off the top and painted it. And it actually has a W for Wonka. We thought that was kind of cute. We found this at a yard sale. It was lips. We painted the box and we put basically a balloon in the front that could blow up for our bubble gum. We put it's for an air mattress in the back, the blower thing for an air mattress to blow it up. That was in the back. We got these bowls at basically thrift stores, painted them silver. And this is just a PVC pipe in the back that moves and on a little stand and makes it so that we can turn this as much as we want. Our conveyor belt here was a bit of a challenge as well. We weren't sure what to use, so we ended up using a hose reel. And this thing moves back and forth, so you can have gobstoppers or you can have your gum. And these were pieces of foam that we got from a laundry supply store. They're the things that go on hangers. We used them to decorate this with yarn, and we just stuffed them full, and then we used it so that as we put our gobstoppers on here, they wouldn't roll all over the place.
And these gobstoppers are just bouncy balls. And if you look closely at them, they look almost exactly like a gobstopper.
3 of our Oompa Loompas actually manned this thing in the back, and it worked really well. It looked great. We used lights on it. We've got Christmas lights poked through holes. We used egg cartons on the side here and basically taped everything in. And then we had one of these in the back for the electrical so that everything plugs into that, and we were ready to go. One thing we did have to do was keep 2 of them unplugged where the lights were, because you could see the lights flashing backstage, so we kept those unplugged until it was the time to actually show this to the audience. And the other thing we had to do was warm up our fog machine. I'm going to open this up so that you can see all of our tubing inside. We had to make sure every night that we had our fog juice in there. We had all of our tubes going into our vortex cannons right here, and this did work really well. But you do have to understand there's oil in this, so it will kind of get on things, and you have to be careful and clean things up a lot. I put a plastic sheet down so that we wouldn't have any problems with that getting all over our stuff. The base of this is basically a cart. It's for lumber, and we expanded it. We cut holes in a 4x8 sheet of plywood and placed it down over it, and then put some boards on here as well, just wired them on, and then used those to bolt up our vortex cannons so they weren't going to go anywhere. This actually worked really well, and it was another one that looked really great from the audience. We had a lot of fun with it, especially shooting smoke rings at the audience. They loved it. So we wanted to show you how our vortex cannon works.
Mm-hmm.
It sends smoke rings into the audience, and it looks so good from a distance. One that we learned was some people have issues with the smoke. And we found out that some of the cheaper, just bought at a grocery store smoke, the fog juice is much better than the industrial grade. The industrial grade did not dissipate fast enough. And the cheaper fog juice actually smelled like burnt caramel. So it turned out really good for us, and it dissipated very quickly so that we didn't have to worry about it looking bad or causing issues with people with their lungs.
Show it on the curtain. This is actually how strong it is. This curtain is weighed down by weights. People in the audience were actually getting pounded by the air. It was really fun.